Do you want to stop locking up in the hypercars on the Mon Ultimates? Well, hopefully this is going to be the video for you. We are going to go through absolutely everything when it comes to braking in the hypercars on the Mon Ultimate. Obviously this transfers to the other non-ABS cars as well, the LMP2 and the LMP3. Not to mention that learning to brake properly without ABS really improves your performance with ABS. I want to make driving the hypercars on the Mon Ultimate as enjoyable for you as it is for me. I want it to be the most enjoyable thing you can do when you get some time to yourself. So without any messing about, let's get straight into it. So we're going to have to start with the hardware. We're going to start with the brake pedal itself. Now some of you may have to skip this section because it depends on what brake pedal you use. So for me, I use the SimLab XP1 pedals. This pedal is awesome. It has a really pronounced two-stage feeling when it comes to the brake. I can do 80% of me braking on the spring, and then the last 20% I do on the elastomer. That means that I'm able to build up really good muscle memory when it comes to how much pressure I need to put on the brake pedal to avoid locking up. Now the brain remembers pressure much better than it remembers movement. So the 80% that I do on the spring, that then feels very different to the last 20% on the elastomer. So that gives me a really good feel when it comes to managing how much I'm using the brake pedal. So the hardware is married to the software. So in your brake pedal software, you need to have it set up that you can just reach the 100%. When you're braking as hard as you feel comfortable braking for a long period of time, that needs to be your 100%. That bump stop needs to be when you're braking 100%. Because that way then, if you know that that's 100, you know that you can just bring it off just a little bit, 3%, 4%, 5%, just to get rid of that lockup. So the hardware and the software married together, that's stage one when it comes to sorting out the braking on the Mon Ultimate. Then we come to the game itself. So the first thing you need to establish is, what is it that you're locking up? So if you're facing in the wrong direction, it's the rears. So the first thing that I would always start with would be the brake bias. If I'm locking up the rears, I need to wind it a little bit to the front, and I'll just do probably 2-3 clicks at a time. People often recommend 1 click, moving it 1 click, but I don't have that level of patience. So I'll move it 2 clicks, see how it feels, 3 clicks, see how it feels. And then say I was locking up the rears, if I wind the brake balance forward enough, eventually I'll start to lock up the fronts. And then I can just wind it back a click for that perfect balance. That I won't lock up the fronts, but I won't lock up the rears. So my advice to you would be to go into the game settings, in the controls, set up a rotary knob or buttons on your steering wheel where you can adjust the brake bias on the fly. However, personally, I prefer to do it quickly on a rotary knob. So now that we've established which you're locking up, the fronts or the rears, so now let's say we're still locking up. So the first thing I would do is obviously make sure that I didn't have a full battery. These cars use a lot of regenerative features. The batteries are regenerated from the braking. So if the battery's full, then you're not using your braking regeneration to its maximum potential. So I always try and make sure that my battery is not full. So the next thing that I check is the brake pressure. Now the higher you can have this, the better. The higher the brake pressure, the greater your stopping power. But sometimes not having it at 100% can be beneficial. If you can get consistency on the brakes, then that's much better than being able to brake really hard one time and then locking up the next time. So I would adjust the brake pressure, and I'd bring that down to something that I found more manageable. And I normally find that I settle around 117 kilograms brake force. That seems to be the sweet spot for me. That allows me to get the best feel without locking the tyres. And once you've settled on a brake bias, it's worth remembering the brake migration. What this does is when you brake really hard, it will shift the brake bias on the fly more to the front. So if you have it on set on 1%, it will move it 1% to the front. If you have it on 2.5, it will move it 2.5 to the front. So that gives you a little bit more leeway when it comes to locking up the rear tyres. As under hard braking, it's going to be moved to the front. So this normally I have set it around about 2.5%. Very rarely do I ever go lower than that. For me, it's normally 2.5%. Then once you've got your hardware set up perfectly and your software set up perfectly and the in-game set up perfectly, the only thing that you've got to work on then is your braking technique. For this, I use Coach Dave Delta. It lets me see a reference lap time, it lets me see where a pro is braking, how much they're braking, and often I found that I wasn't reaching 100% brake force. I was hovering around 90–95%, but I was leaving braking performance on the table. But using this app, I was able to see that I needed to be braking at 100%, only for the first second before I started to trail that brake off. And this is all about technique, and you need to really work on your technique. It needs to be hard braking, very hard to start with, 100% for the first second, and then trail those brakes off as you meet the apex. And you should only really be coming off the brakes as you get to the apex. That's what I found. But the brake pressure at the apex should be very small. It's vital as well to remember that these cars don't like braking and turning at the same time. You can't use 100% brake force and steer at the same time, the car just won't have it. So you need to try and do your heavy braking, your maximum braking in a straight line. Sometimes that's difficult. For example, heading to Rivazza 1 at Imola as you come down the hill, it's incredibly difficult to get the car straight before you hit the brakes, which is why it's really easy to lock up into Rivazza 1. But that just means that I just adjusted my line a little bit so that I could get the car straight before I hit the brakes. And then once again, using that technique of braking 100% hard for the first second, second and a half, 2 seconds at the most, and then coming down the gearbox and easing off the brake. The more you ease off the brake, the more the car's willing to turn in. You may still lock up, but as you're coming off the brake and steering, that lockup becomes a small lockup as opposed to a massive lockup. And we all know that Le Mans Ultimate massively punishes you for locking the tyres up. Flat spots on this game are horrific, and they feel horrific in the steering. If I get a flat spot in a session, I will ditch those tyres because lockup breeds lockup on this game. If you get a flat spot on the tyres, I guarantee you're going to continue to lock up more and more and more. And it's just a cycle that just gets worse and worse and worse. Now you're ready to work on that technique that we've spoken about, you need to pick a car to do it in. And my pick would 100% be the Peugeot. The Peugeot is fantastic when it comes to braking. It's really forgiving and it's really strong, but it's the perfect beginner base point when it comes to learning how to not lock up, because when it does lock up, it's forgiving in terms of allowing you to settle the car, steer the car, and not have those big major flat spots. So to any beginner, I would say start with the Peugeot, and then once you've mastered the Peugeot and you're not locking the Peugeot up much, then I would move on to another car. Some cars can be incredibly difficult. To this day, I still lock the Alpine up all the time. But again, just practicing it is something that I'm getting better on. And there you go, we're at the end of the video, and I'm really hoping that this video does help you. I think if you own Le Mans Ultimate and you're not driving the hypercars, you're really missing out. So with a bit of luck, now after this video, you can go away and start to improve that braking performance. If at any point you think I've earned it and you like what I do on the channel, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button, as it would help me out massively, and a huge thank you to everyone that already has. I hope it's been helpful in some way. As always, I've been the Reverend. Thank you very much for watching.